chinyika isiwe vanhu vangu inguva yedu hatingachatsi kubudirira Mwari ari parutivi pedu rambai muchirwa
My hitters don't die, the real hitters gon' shine and my people gon' rise. Cause we're born to win, I ain't saying
But the hell do I not have to deal? I swear this thing is a real dog. I play fan off, the cowards so they can't feel. The wife try to console me like it's coming, baby, chill. She don't understand. I'm the only one that's real. I remember the 3rd grade. Them kids, they had waves. I had them BDBs. You know that Zimbabwean grade. So they do shades. And your boy hit the stage, press play, and all the chicks was like, yeah. While boys was moving bricks, I was moving chips. Yeah. If she gave me calculus, gave her a mouthful of it. Heat rose to this thing, boy, I bet on myself.
Welcome everybody to the Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday. I want to welcome you to a fantastic Friday and a full Friday. I will say that we have an amazing lineup of guests here today. With me is Saghar Amini. She's going to be telling us all about the protests happening right now with the National Iranian American Council. American Iranian Council. Iranian American Council. I want to make sure I get that right. But there's some misnomers out there. She's going to make sure we know what's really going on. And then also I have my girl, Shaude Moore, in the building. She is the executive chair for MLK Seattle Organizing Coalition, or Seattle MLK Organizing Coalition. And I'm glad that she's here because, of course, Monday is MLK Day and Seattle is still home of the longest running MLK celebration in the nation. So I'm so glad I'll be able to talk to her about all the amazing things y'all can expect for MLK Day this year, starting on Monday. It's going to be great. And then I'll be following up with my girl, Eula Scott Bynoe is in the building. We're going to be talking about some of the work she's been doing in the community, as y'all have been hearing messages throughout this week about the covenant, which will also be introduced at MLK Day. So I'll be diving in with her. Before I get it in with my first guest here, I just want to share an opportunity. Now, we had UNCF on last season sometime, and they were telling us about this upcoming HBCU tour. Now is the time. If you know of any high school juniors who are looking to go get their experience, understand the culture, the history, the legacies of HBCUs as an option for them, this right here is the information. You guys can see that the email is right there. I think it's UNCF Success, that you can email. Brianna is on it. They are trying to get more juniors involved this year with this tour, and it is all expenses paid. So for those of you who are like, man, I know high school juniors that are looking, to get their applications in, looking to get that experience, make sure you guys go to UNCF's website. You guys can find the information there as well. In terms of their portfolio program, the application closes on Sunday, y'all, the 15th of January. And they've extended it because they're like, look, we want more young folks to apply for this amazing opportunity. So please utilize this amazing resource and get those applications in before the deadline. Well, I'm excited because Saghar has been with us before and she is joining us again. What's going on, Saghar? How are you?
Hi, Trae. Good. Thank you so much for having me back.
Yeah, this is one of those issues that you've been on for a really long time. Just give us an overview about what's going on, just for those who may not have seen my first interview with you last season.
Yeah, absolutely. First, I want to differentiate the Iranian American community from that council you mentioned, because we are on different paths than some organizations. But the Iranian American community has been marching, and Converge has been with us, and our African American brothers and sisters and Ukrainian brothers and sisters have been with us and joining us in these rallies to speak about what's happening in Iran, and also how that's a local issue here as well, because we are also going through many situations that have made this a local issue, and our families are there, and activists are being either attacked, retaliated against, just to stop us from speaking our minds and tell our story. So I see many organizations to try to advocate on moderate but not very realistic approach on what's going on in Iran, right? It's women and men, it's rich and poor, it's everybody coming to the streets and getting killed. And, we feel like there's a lot of voices that are being missed in this process. With those of us that, I feel like I have a responsibility to help echo that voice of the Iranians, which, these organizations may not be, you know, supporting or effectively and realistically echoing. I mean, I understand they have to raise money, they have to look like, they're building an organization or they've built an organization that's effective. But how about the boots on the ground? How about the people that are actually directly being affected by these, right? So we have been trying to help echo that voice and bring the community together. There's so many leaders in the community, so many activists that have united like never before to try and amplify these voices. So it's been a great opportunity for us to reconnect.
Well, I mean, this is something that I think does take a full effort. I mean, anytime we're talking about understanding how international issues are really impacting us here, it's important that we have local voices to really elevate that. And I really appreciate that you've been on the ground doing that and bringing a lot of folks into this. I mean, Sahar, you're talking about, folks from all kinds of ethnic backgrounds understanding the importance of this in their own world. And I think that that right there is where we can begin to kind of break the ideology here in America that, well, if it's not happening on our soil, is it really going to be impactful to us? And that's something that we really have to understand. But it's through voices like yourselves and lived experience like yours where we can really get that glimpse of that. As you've been building out this amazing community of folks who have been organizing and protesting, tell us a bit about how that message has been resonating with them.
Absolutely. I mean, I have to say, I am only one of many people that have stepped up and have been trying to speak up for those people, right? So, we're just building the community together to uh, connect with our non-Iranian Americans, non-Iranians as well, right? Because that is also important. Also, you mentioned about how it's impacting us here. For example, many of us have been advocating for legislation to sanction the parliamentarians in Iran that voted to execute our youth. And 2 days later, they were walking down the streets of New York. Do Americans really want that? We don't. We are not advocating for immigration policy or for people to come here. We are saying do not allow them, the government officials, to come here when they voted to execute our youth 2 days earlier inside Iran, right? So it is impacting us. They are coming here, and we want to feel safe in our community in America. We want to be able to have our freedom of speech. And many people that are organizing these rallies, that are advocating for legislation, have been sending that message as well. Like the MASA Act has been introduced in Congress. That's a bipartisan issue. That's a bipartisan bill, right? Because this is a bipartisan issue. It is a humanitarian issue. It's a human rights. It's a women's rights. And also understanding that this is not just women fighting. Men and women shoulder to shoulder are fighting. And we here as a community, I believe, have a responsibility to help echo that voice and to send a message out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we kind of talked on that when I first connected with you about how this isn't just a woman issue. And I appreciate the fact that this is something that a lot of folks can stand behind, because when you talk about human rights violations, that is impactful to every human, right? And so I appreciate that. That's really the foundation of how you're making, these kind of connections. When you think about next steps and next moves, I mean, what does this look like as you guys continue to fight for these human rights? How can people stay engaged and informed in this work that you all are doing?
I mean, I believe we believe that the Iranian people should and must control their faith and build the nation. What we can do here is to not make it easier for that government to survive and legitimize their actions, right? So the next steps for us is advocating on legislative uh, process on legislative action. And for example, I mentioned the MASA Act, right? Advocating on that, that's sanctioning the supreme leader, the president, their appointees, their cabinet members, and not allow them to freely come here to this country and, block their properties and, all these things that can be done to delegitimize that government. I mean, their IRGC is already a terrorist organization, and the leader of that organization is the supreme leader. Why is he not sanctioned? And so, because it's a bipartisan bill, I really support it, and I would ask anyone to just pick up the phone. We have the president pro tempore of the Senate, Senator Murray, in this state, and it's really important that we reach out. And it'll take 2 minutes. I call their office and say, listen, my name is Trae, and I support the MASA Act, and I suggest you do too, because we are standing in our Iranian brothers and sisters, and we want to support them. So what are you doing to support them as well? So this can take 2 minutes, but it's very impactful, especially when it's coming from the non-Iranians.
Yeah, this is important. And I'm so glad that you could come here today to make sure that we're all engaged in this. And I stand alongside you all. They'll be getting a call from me for sure, because we have to make these actions, feasible for a lot of folks. And I get it. People are working, people get busy, but let's take the time to be engaged and involved. I also, before I let you go, I got to give you a second. If folks want to connect with you, if they want to learn more, if they want to dive a little deeper into this issue or find out, how they can be there the next time you guys have a rally or a protest, look right there in that camera. Let folks know how to connect personally with you so that they can really be engaged in the local efforts that you all are creating here.
Thank you so much. Yes. So my local, my Instagram account is Saghar Amini, Saghar Amini. But there's also many other groups that are advocating here. There are organizations, and I try to share their information on my page as well. And so, from there's rallies, there's legislative action, there's resolutions and proclamations, and, there's so much that anyone can just take 2 minutes to do. And our main goal, our main objective is to build a community around all of this and to expand our community and just to be united and be the voice of people that are not being represented correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Saghar, thank you so much for being with me again today. And as I said to you last time, stay engaged with us here on The Day with Trae as much as we can. We want to help to be a conduit of information and really make sure that people are engaged and informed about this issue. Thank you for being on the front lines and for bringing people to this. So please, as updates come, let me know. We'll make sure the folks know about it. Thanks so much for being with me.
Thank you so much. And thank you for being honest from day one. You have been very supportive. You have, Jordan has been there, your staff, Deontay, yourself, all of you guys have been just amazing and very supportive. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. There we go. Starting off this fantastic Friday with a bang. Of course, that is going to continue right after this short break. I get the chance to talk to Shaude Moore, Executive Chair of Seattle MLK Organizing Coalition. Let's make sure y'all stay tuned after this short break. You don't want to miss this. You're watching The Day with Trae.
Prosperity in Black America. What will this require? Is Black business prospering? Are we reaching women and minority-owned businesses? How do we achieve earning parity for wealth for our families? Do our children really have access to education? Will our families have choices for our children? Prison pipelines, mass incarceration, tearing our families apart. A healthcare system not accessible to the masses. The disproportionate termination of Black women from corporate America. When will we actually begin to address what's really at play? How do Black people gain more power to help make these changes? This requires a lot of political will and courage. I'm that provocateur of change. I am Cindy Bright. Welcome to Heartbeat.
COVID-19 hurt my income, my health, and my family. We were about to lose our home when we heard we might be eligible for homeowner assistance funds from the government. We called 1-877-894-HOME and a housing counselor stepped in, talked to our lender, and saved our home. Federal funding details at washingtonhaf.org. That's washingtonhaf.org.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday. Joining me right now is Shaude Moore. I've been waiting to get Shaude in the building on my couch. What's up, Shaude?
What's up? What's up? Happy to be here. It's still the morning time, just waking up, moving on, but glad to be sitting here with you. And I feel like I'm amongst family. So that's a good feeling.
You know it. Well, the thing is that when I kind of first really started getting back into community, the coalition was one of my first stops. I'm like, how do I get engaged? How do I get involved? And knowing that has been such a pillar in our community, I want to hear from you how it's been, because you've been a part of this organizing for a very long time. Tell us a bit about your beginnings coming into the MLK organizing and what's kept you there in that space and allowed you to grow now to executive chair.
Absolutely. So I started roughly around 12 years ago. So my daughter, who is now 13, was an itty bitty baby. I was working security downtown, and one of the security officers that I worked with was the sister, the baby sister of then council member Larry Gossett. So who is an advisor for me now and has been an advisor ever since. But we would be talking in the office, and we were talking about community, from, mother to mother, we just had this, immediate bond. And she told me about what her brother was doing in the community. So she's like, hey, Shaude, I think you should check it out. Here's his number, here's his email. This is when they meet. So I showed up for a meeting. Larry Gossett was the chair, and Camilla Brown was his executive aide, but also doing a whole bunch of amazing things with the coalition at that time. And I just got started. Then I was a volunteer. I was learning. I was eating everything up. And then gradually over time, I just stepped into like a chair role, chairing one of our subcommittees. And then 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I stepped into a leadership role. And at that point in time, I was the youngest Black woman chair under the age of 30. I was then 29. And our entire executive team was a team of Black parents, professionals, community members, all under the age of 30. So it was a pivotal time within our coalition's leadership. But I've just been driving ever since with the support of the coalition. But it's just been amazing.
Well, it's so great to, I'll say this. We need more folks like yourselves who at a young age can step into something and stick with it for a long time. You really represent that. And to know that Seattle is one of the longest running celebrations of MLK's legacy across the nation. How does that resonate with you in terms of what you all bring? Because I think it is one of those events that everyone looks forward to every single year. Tell us a bit about the impact of that on you.
Well, we are the only jurisdiction named after the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So that alone speaks volumes. For me, I work in the city. Actually, since COVID, I'm in and out of the city working. But this work is a whole nother job. And it, for actually throughout the entire year, because I'm working even off of the planning season. But the impact of where this organization has started, and the folks that are now advisors and the legacy behind our coalition that came before me, after hearing the history and what it meant for them and what it meant to continue, this mission forward, by keeping these events going, and finding different ways to expand beyond that. 3 years ago, our coalition started an internship program, in which, year one, we had 2 interns, out of Seattle high schools. Year 2, it was 4. And this year we had 6. So we're growing, and it's just amazing to see these young people, freshmen through senior year in high school, say, hey, this is something that I want to be a part of. They're writing mission statements. They're getting sign-offs from their teachers. They're given, great references just from leaders in the community on why they need to be involved. And so me being a young person starting in this work and then being able to see how that's evolving and getting more young people, into this work, it's just been a true sight to see. So
yeah. Well, I'll say too that I think there's something really special about community organizing that oftentimes just goes overlooked.
Right.
And we talk about it before. I mean, a lot of folks talk about it as being like, oh, it's one of the most thankless things. But ultimately, there's a lot of folks who are very thankful and appreciative.
Right.
How have you been able to experience those relationships that the organizing coalition has really created? I mean, stemming from all of the way back. That seems like so many generations of relationship. How do you feel that that's really been, a kind of driving force of how y'all have really been impactful in community?
I love to network, and I love to volunteer. So being able to see those two come together, by way of me being in the position that I'm in for this coalition has been amazing. This year alone, and I'm saying this basically referencing what I was doing last night because I was working, finalizing the program, which is going to be amazing. If you happen to turn out on Monday, you can see exactly what we've been doing behind the scenes. But well over 75 supporters, sponsors, donors, folks just offering us grants. How can we sign up? How get you to sign up? And being able to have those conversations with them in email, having them call my phone and be like, hey, this is what we want to do. How can we partner with you? It's been amazing. I think that's all, again, based off of the relationships that I've created within the coalition. Grassroots folks that have been in the community for so long, that own their own businesses, that are, sitting on boards for other, organizations in the community, doing things abroad, whether that be, internationally or just, when we think about just in the US, seeing the impact that they've made and how they're reaching out and grabbing onto me and they're like, hey, you're one of our younger folks. We want to get you, we want to put you out there so that folks can see what this coalition is really about and how we're trying to move it forward. So for me, that's a blessing. I'm able to express that, when I'm at home with my family, with my 13-year-old daughter who's getting more involved and wanting to see what her mom is doing. And then our interns as well, setting the right example for them to say, hey, you see that I did it. I want you to do it too.
Oh my goodness. Well, this is a great opportunity too for me to open it up because I mean, clearly jam-packed schedule on Monday.
Right.
Every year, it's without fail, it's impeccable. I'll say that. I loved being a part of organizing it from the back end. I was just telling KL, I'm like, man, if I had the time, y'all know I would be there every time. So this is why for me, I'm like, man, what can I do? Let me do my part to make sure I'm spreading the message.
Right.
Obviously, thousands of people turn out for this every year, but this is exciting because I think with COVID, you guys made some shifts and still made a way to really celebrate Dr. King during this phenomenal time. When you think about the opportunities you all have, you said it takes a year to plan this out. I mean, you guys are having meetings throughout the year. You guys are figuring out right after, the event, you guys are doing analysis on the event and then you're starting to plan again. So this means that people have the opportunity to volunteer even now. Before I let you go, Shaude, you got to look right there. Let them know, how do they tap in with you and the coalition if they are looking to really make a statement and become a part of this coalition and volunteer?
Absolutely. So you can follow us on Instagram, MLK Seattle. You can go directly to our website. It's www.seattlemlkcoalition, all together, all lowercase.org. Everything is updated. Matter of fact, I just reached out to our webmaster and told him to put the program on there so that y'all can see it this weekend. Matter of fact, later on tonight. So make sure you tune in. You can also email me, mlkseattle@gmail.com, and myself or a member of our executive team will, reach out to you and ask any questions that you may have. And you can come and see me on Monday. I'll be all around, but you'll definitely see me up at the stage.
Oh, well, great, Shaude. And, I'm going to be talking to Eula right after this break about the covenant. I was telling, I'm like, hey, we got to make sure some of our MLK folks get the hoodie too, because, you guys really represent the principles that I'll be speaking with Eula about right after this. Thank you so much for everything you give and do. You're phenomenal, Shaude.
I appreciate that, sis.
Anytime you have updates, this is a space for you. You can come anytime.
Awesome.
Well, you guys, I do get to continue this, and I know we're going to go over today, but that's just what it is. It's a feel-good Friday. It's feeling fantastic in here, and I told y'all at the top of the show it was going to be a full Friday, but I get the opportunity to speak to Eula Scott Bynoe about all the ways that she's been tapping into community, and particularly about this work with the Covenant. Stay tuned right after this short break, y'all. You're watching The Day with Trae.
Prosperity in Black America. What will this require? Is Black business prospering? Are we reaching women and minority-owned businesses? How do we achieve earning parity for wealth for our families? Do our children really have access to education? Will our families have choices for our children? Prison pipelines, mass incarceration, tearing our families apart. A healthcare system not accessible to the masses. The disproportionate termination of Black women from corporate America. When will we actually begin to address what's really at play? How do Black people gain more power to help make these changes? This requires a lot of political will and courage. I'm that provocateur of change. I am Cindy Bright. Welcome to Heartbeat.
Will you marry me, baby?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll put this on you.
What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Trae Holiday. We're bringing back Black Love When We Met. That's right. We need something to warm all of our hearts and to elevate love once again in our communities. We want y'all to go to whereweconverge.com/Black Love so y'all can nominate your favorite couple for the next rendition of this show with me as the host. Let me sit down and have them on my couch and share how their love can inspire us all. Make sure y'all go and get your nominations in today and be on the lookout for Black Love When We Met coming at you on Converge Media very soon. Welcome back, everybody, to The Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday, and joining me right now is Eula Scott Bynoe. Oh my goodness, Eula! Thank you.
It's nothing. Literally, it's nothing, sweetheart. I love you too much. I'm so grateful for this. Really, this is a really blessing.
Well, I just got to say, you know, being connected to you and knowing that you've done so many different things. And I mean, I want to start because, you know, obviously a lot of folks probably go, man, well, your dad was out here. You was organizing from a baby. Like, just tell us a bit about that history so folks can understand just kind of your family legacy in terms of, you know, community organizing.
Oh, yeah. So I'm a CD princess, like many of us are. And my father is Tyree Scott. My dad was a union organizer, the founder of IBEW and behind integration in unions. My mother, people don't speak on her legacy, I think, just because of the way women often aren't recognized. But my mom was the first woman to become an electrician in the state of Washington. Wow. And that had no relationship with my father. That's just how she worked. She talks, how she put it is she had graduated from college and she knew her mind worked and she just wanted to see what her hands could do.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So you really come from like a strong legacy in terms of it be, you know, when people say it's in your blood, it's in your DNA.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really something that you have leaned into. Tell us a bit about how you've taken that legacy on yourself and some of the things that you've been doing to stay connected to community and organizing.
Yeah. You know, I would say the first thing is just really understanding how much you become your parents. You know, both my parents are transitioned already. And so I'm in a place where it's just me raising myself and recognizing who I really am. And who I really am is just them, but also totally different, right? I'm into astrology. So my mom's an earth sign, my dad's an air sign, and I'm water, right? Mm-hmm. We're very different. But at the same time, when it comes to my ability to speak to people, that is both of them. And then my ability to see that we all are interconnected and we have to work together is absolutely a part of it. And for that, I would say how I show up in community is if I interact with somebody, I try to really take on who they are. I think some people would say I'm an empath. I've never described myself that way. I don't know if I am. How I would say it is if I can feel there's something of concern, I'm going to help. Mm. Right. Because what else am I here to do? If not be in direct relationship with the people who are in my immediate tribe. If I don't take care of you, then what am I doing? Like literally, what am I doing? I could go somewhere and make some money some other place. And I've done that before. I could reach real far and I could figure out how to connect across the world. And I've done that before. But what I've realized is if I really pay attention to the things around me, especially with a 5-year-old, I can make a difference in how his life is expectancy is meant to be, right? I tell people all the time, I don't do stuff for other people because I'm just trying to take care of other people. My son has to be a part of this community. If this community is not a healthy community, am I even being a mother? Right? So I'm here for it, is my point. I'm really here for it.
Well, you show up and you show out. I mean, just during the break, Eula's like, oh, hey, I got some stuff for you. Amazing flowers that smell beautiful and a journal here. For those of you who don't know, I do journal, particularly in my spiritual work. I'm just like always taking notes. So I appreciate all of this. But also, too, I really get to see you be you in community. And it's something that just last night as we were working together and you were just sharing with me your insight about how important our work is in community in terms of healing our community and how that needs to be funded in a way that allows us to do just that. I really appreciated that. Like when I tell you, I'm going to carry that with me. I carry it forward because I agree. And that kind of brings me to the work you're doing now with this amazing, set of individual organizers in the Covenant. Tell us a bit about what drew you into that work and what kept you there.
Yeah, all credit due to Elijah. I want to say Elijah Muhammad, but it's not that one. I'm talking about Elijah. Elijah's
Lewis.
Name is Lewis. There we go. So Elijah called the community together in a way that is really a blessing of his youth, right? To have that kind of faith in community, to say, I'm just going to put out a and see who comes through. And he has great connection and he shows up for people. He's a Scorpio just 2 days prior to me. And so he pulled people in a way that it started a conversation. And the first meeting, we just vibed on what it was to collect as a community. The second meeting, people went around and introduced themselves. And I'm a real solutionary, right? The way my brain works is really I'm not here for nothing, but how do we fix it moving on, right? Yeah. I'm an Aries moon. That's my astrology talk and I do it all day. So I would say that at the end of that meeting, I was like, oh, we should have some kind of a community understanding that is present for the tribe, and we can present it at MLK because we got enough time. And Shannon was there, and KL always makes me think I can connect it all the way to MLK Day. And MLK Day carries such weight in our city because, remind me the young woman's name, Shaude. What a pretty name. That Shaude was saying that way that we have the, I lost my thought. Shaude was saying that, we're named for Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I have this little itty bitty city pin that, Larry Gossett gave me, I'm sure. And truly. And, I'm just grateful for the way that we've been named for a Black man. It's the only one in the country. Yep. And so we honor who he is and the opportunity that we get to bring the Covenant to this conversation. The Covenant is so funny because linguistically, I don't know what covenant means. And so there's a part of me that really struggles with even owning that word. But the way the words come together when you read them all at once is such an easy path to follow and a way to experience what you really want from others as you go out and, pursue your own path.
Yeah,
truly.
It's for me, it's one of those things that there was a young group of organizers and we were like, we need something. It's we need a set of principles. What does it mean to be in community? What kind of agreement do we have in community that says that this is who we are and who we're going to be? So it's funny because it took on a life of its own, and it started now almost 3 years ago. And it was these ideas that we say things a lot, right? We'll say something about Sankofa and then we look back to look forward. And so we talk about protecting our community. We talk about holding each other accountable and be responsible for our actions. But there was a lot of little sayings that I think happen, particularly in Black communities globally, that are really connected in an interconnected kind of I always think ma'at kind of way, which is this need for interdependence, right? Like there is something here energetically where we all need each other, right? And when we think about love being the greatest magnitude of energy that one can put out in the world in these vessels, it really is giving, seeking nothing in return. So how do we in community embody that? And what does that look like? And so I've particularly loved this work because working alongside all of you who just said, yeah, we'll volunteer, we'll come together, we'll make it happen, and we'll donate. We know we're going to donate money so we can get these hoodies printed. I can't wait for our photo shoot and like us being out there in, at the march and the rally with our hoodies on. I think there's something so special about having the covenant on our hoodies and then having our signs out there and being collective in a way that elevates our consciousness. Now, y'all have heard me say this throughout the week because all week I've been intentional to have someone from this amazing covenant community on the show, not just because I'm connected to it, but because repetition of messaging is important when we talk about changing and reframing our thinking around what it means to be in community. And you've just brought such a unique, vital force to this space that I just publicly want to thank you, Eula. I mean it. I worked all week not to get emotional as I said this to folks who are doing it, because I realized I'm a mother too. It's still time. It's energy. It is our life force that we're giving to this. But I love knowing that we're doing something and that we're saying, there was maybe a void that needed to be filled. And now everyone I talk to about it is like, oh my God, this is what we need. This is what we need. Right. So I love knowing that we together really have already unified on covenant principles. And I just thank you so much for all that you've brought into that space. It's easy to do.
Honestly, I would say that, when it comes down to how, the idea of treat others how you want to be treated, if you really pay attention to yourself, then you can show up for others. I've done a lot of care for myself in the last few years. I lost my husband and my mother in 2020. Mm-hmm. And so it was just one of those things where I had to reframe for myself what it was to be like what my tribe really looks like, because it extends further than what I thought it was for a very long time. Right. Mm-hmm. And it shows up for me. My point is people show up for me left and right. People look out for me. And it would be selfish of me not to like be so aggressively in response to the care I've received. Be so aggressively be so aggressively conscious. Mm-hmm. I think that's the best way of putting it.
Well, you've shown it, and you've shown it, and I've just been able to connect with you in various formats, and I'm so grateful that you were able to take time here today. Of course, I got to give you an opportunity to look into that camera. If folks are looking to become ambassadors of the covenant, I know you know the website. You can give it to them right there in that camera. And if folks are looking to connect with you in a community way with all of the amazing things you have going on, you can also share that as well.
Yeah. So these days, my work is really called into grief work because of what's happened in this pandemic, but also how I can understand that most people are grieving some type of version of themselves daily. And so if you're looking to have more support in your grief, or if there's somebody in your family that is dealing with grief aggressively in a way that is challenging them, my company is Good Grief, and all my intention is to make sure that we all process this. I'm not really one of those people that moves on money. I move on vibes. I move on bartering, and I do like cash, but it's going to come and flow. So honestly, Eula Scott Bynoe is my email at gmail.com. Eula is EULA SCOTT BYNOE at gmail.com. As far as the covenant is the / or dash is really what it is. Covenant at I'm doing it wrong. the-covenant.org. Simple as that. And you can go on there and read the principles. You can sign up for it. We'll keep you in contact with how we are going to move forward as a collective to make sure that we show up for each other, because I had a morning. Can I tell you about my morning?
Nah, come on.
So this morning I'm driving my son to school, and I have a friend in the car because I'm taking her to the airport after this. I'm showing up for my tribe as best I can at all times. And we see a man literally taking a stick to a man who had called him, a word that I don't know if you want to use on here, but I spell it Negus, right? And it held so much power as he threw that word, that now this man is taking a stick to him, right? And I had to pull over and be like, bruh, you gotta cut it out. You can't be this bothered by a single word. Also, my son is in the car. We're driving by. We're experiencing this right now. You've got to show up for yourself. You've got to show up for other people, right? But also, this man that you're doing this to is a homeless man, right? This is one of those positions of you have power and he has nothing in this position. He has one word on you, but you are opening a business that's yours. And this man is, and you don't know this person, I promise. And you are, this man is homeless in front of your space. It's not the same. You know what I mean? The power is in you. And it was really interesting to feel like, called to like park my car and pull all the way up to tell my son not to pay attention because he was still buckling. And so, I shouldn't have even been driving yet. But Spirit calls me to move like that. And it was a trip. Moral of the story is it was a trip. And the covenant is something that makes me want to speak up in those situations. What originally came into place was the second event. Auntie Jacqueline had said that she experienced some young women that were challenged to how she was supposed to respond to their actions because they were inappropriate. And, we all have to be active sometimes. And it's nice to have the covenant put it together for us in a way where it's easy to think, how do I handle the situation? Because it's not about, it's about finding peace for all people at all times, right? My dad's motto was no separate peace. And so, we're all there's just no other way to go around it. I went on that long spiel, y'all, because it's something I do, but I'm going to wrap it up at that point.
Well, Eula, no, I thank you for sharing that because you are so right. It's not just about us living it privately. It's publicly. What does that look like? And how do we set examples for these covenant principles that we are all saying are necessary in our community? We know they're necessary in communities across the globe. And we're going to do something about it to not only, have the messages permeate here locally, but what can we do to inspire other cities in the nation across the globe, internationally, worldwide, to do this work. So I thank you for sharing that because it is something that we do have to do publicly. And particularly when we have young people around us, we're setting an example and setting a tone for them. And if we want to really make our communities better, we do have to address the situations in the moment. So thank you so much for sharing that.
I told 6 grown men what to do.
It is.
And then I wanted to add too, just that, for me, a big part of this too was the passing of Devon Pickett.
Yeah.
I really respected the man. I see great value in him. And I honor and respect his wife. I think she's just a powerful woman. And when Elijah put out this call, it was the idea for me that I could have his death not be in vain, and I could be active in the solution around it. And when you said the thing about worldwide, it made me think about how I'm talking on the phone with my cousin who lives in London, who's from Oakland. And I'm telling her how I've been in relationship with the healing as best I can in community of Devon Pickett's piece. And she was like, is this like a postman? Is this like it's like down by Grocery Outlet? Girl, how you know about Devon?
Oh, wow.
So she had misheard about him from another person that she was in relationship with that grew up in the city. And she's, on the other side of the world. So it's truly all connected.
Yeah, it really is. And I just thank you for upholding the principles, for living them, for exemplifying them publicly. We need that.
I'm done. We gotta be done.
We need that. No, I appreciate it. No, I mean that because everyone doesn't do it. And so when you recognize it, when you see it, you got to speak up about it.
Well, they're not at capacity.
Well, it's true.
And so
we got to build that up
too.
too.
We're just gonna bring everybody up to capacity. It ain't no easy. Ain't nobody got my parents.
Yeah, there it is. Oh, Eula, this is amazing. Thank you so much for being here. My goodness, you all. Of course, this went over, but when I tell you, when you're moved to have these kinds of conversations and for this to be a space to do that, I'm so grateful. I want to, of course, thank all of my guests today. Saghar Amini, all the work that she's doing out there to make sure we are engaged and informed. Again, she gave you guys some great resources. Make sure you reach out to her. If you want to know more, figure out what can you do. She said it right there. Hit up, the phone call, for Patty Murray. Let her know that we need to support these bills. We need to support new legislation to really ensure that we're holding folks accountable. Of course, I got to give a huge shout out to Shaude Moore for being here from Seattle MLK Organizing Coalition. Be there on Monday, y'all. This is a great opportunity for you to plug in. Go enjoy some of the workshops. They're always phenomenal. Starts at 9:30. Make sure you guys tap in. As she said, the event schedule will be on the website website tonight, so y'all can check that out. And of course, huge shout out and thank you to Eula Scott Bynoe. So glad that she was here to share how she is not just being connected to community, but upholding the work that she is doing in community by being an example of the covenant. Of course, you guys can go to the-covenant.org, sign up to be an ambassador. Come and show us, hey, look, I signed up. Take a screenshot because it'll send you a quick little thank you for signing up. Take a screenshot, bring it to us on MLK Day. You will get a free hoodie while supplies last. Check it out. Come and be a part of us on MLK Day as we spread these amazing principles for all of us to uphold ourselves to. And I'm so excited because y'all will see me on Monday. We're working it all out for me to be able to be there, maybe do some footage on day of. And so it's going to be a fun show on Monday celebrating MLK and his legacy. And until Monday at 11 a.m., y'all, peace. Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.